Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all joining us from different parts of India. Thank you for taking the time to be here. We are delighted to see participation from IT, architects, cloud specialists, and modernization decision makers. We appreciate your presence. This webinar is exclusively hosted by Access.io, a leader in a cloud transformation and digital modernization. Today, session explores how agentic AI with Q Transform is revolutionizing VMware migration, enabling enterprises to move and modernize faster, reduce risk, and move from months to weeks with intelligent automation and AWS powered innovation. I would like to introduce my speaker for today's event, Mr. Ranjit Verma. He is Senior Architect and Microsoft Modernization Practice Head at Access.io. Ranjit brings over 12 plus years of experience driving application and database modernization, transforming legacy system into modern cloud architects, and leading enterprise scale migration program. He has delivered multiple modernization success story across industry and is also an active speaker at technology event. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Ranjit Verma. Over to you, Mr. Ranjit.
Thank you. Yep. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Ranjit Verma. I work as a senior architect at Access.io. So in this webinar, we are going to talk about Microsoft workload modernization, right? So we are also going to see how organizations are modernizing their application and the database and what all benefits they are getting out of it, right? So let's get started. Okay, so the very first question is why modernize? What benefits are we going to get when we modernize our application and the database, right? So the very first benefit is the license freedom. We all know that the legacy .NET applications are, Windows reset. We pay for the Windows license. And if you are using SQL Server as your database, then you are paying the license cost for the SQL Server, right? So the very first benefit is the license freedom and the license cost. And when you upgrade your technology, obviously you get the benefit of optimized security, improved performance. In case you refactor your monolith application into microservice architecture, what you get is loosely coupled modules, and this reduces the complexity of your application, right? So these are at a higher level. These are the most common benefit what you get when you modernize your application and the database. Moving on to the next slide. Sorry, yeah. So on the application modernization front, predominantly on the .NET, technology side. So the very first thing what we do is porting from your .NET framework application into .NET Core, right? So with this, you get rid of Windows and you can deploy your application to Linux, kind of operating system. So here you get, again, the license and the cost savings here. The second thing on the application front is refactoring your monolith application into the microservice architecture, right? And on the database modernization front, we can help you migrate from MS SQL Server to Postgres kind of database. And we have done this application and the database modernization for many organizations. If I have to name a few, on the HRMS, segments, we have Wallet HR, Randstad, MSphere, OSource, Humanware, etc. And on the fintech side, we have also modernized Deloitte's application and the database. All right. So how do we do this? All right. So we have a different pathway, right? So I'll take upon, all the pathways one by one, right? So give me a second. So the very first thing is the assessment. Before we touch your code base or the database for the modernization, what we do is we deep dive into your application and the database and do a thorough assessment of your application, right? So as part of this assessment, we analyze your architecture, we check the different technical depth what you have, we identify the compatibility related issues, etc. And with all this understanding, we come up with a roadmap for the modernization, and ultimately we it helps us giving us the effort estimation for the whole modernization project, right? And for this assessment we leverage AWS tool. It's called AWS Porting Assistant. So basically, this is a twofold assessment. One is tool-based assessment, for which we leverage AWS Porting Assistant, followed by the manual assessment by our architects. So once we have done with the assessment, the next part is porting your .NET Framework application to .NET Core. So here what we do, move your .NET 4.x or whatsoever to .NET 8.0, and we leverage AWS Q Transform to do this transformation. And the Q Transform doesn't do the complete 100% transformation. There are some manual involvement that would be required based on whatever APIs or however your code is been written. And with this, what you get is Linux compatible app, right? And the benefit is you can save your Windows license cost. Moving on to the next phase, wherein we help refactoring your giant monolith application into various microservices architecture, right? So we gradually take out the different module and the part of your application and build the independent microservices out of it. So the benefit what we get is improved scalability, agility, and the stability of your application. So in case if you have any questions, you can please put down to the chat window and we'll certainly answer them. Moving on, so let's say your application is now ported from framework to core. You have also extracted your microservices. What comes next is the containerization. You can containerize to Amazon ECS or EKS, and here we leverage another AWS tool called App2Container. In case of database modernization, so like if you ask me like why do we move from SQL Server to Postgres, so the answer, as we have already discussed, it's a license freedom, cloud friendly, no vendor lock-in what you get. And for the database modernization, we leverage AWS SCT tool to convert your schema, right? And further, there is another service called data migration service, and that we use to move your data from SQL Server to Postgres. And we leverage some of our in-house tools or accelerator at different stages of the database modernization, right? So this covers the database modernization. Now to get a further deep dive into how we do the application modernization, I have a demo. So in this demo, we will see how a .NET Framework application is getting transformed using AWS Transform, and what all manual interventions are required to do the complete transformation, right? So here is some of the overview about the application which we are going to take for the modernization. So it's a simple ASP.NET MVC application. It's an online shopping application. Basically, it is developed in ASP.NET Framework 4.08. It's using Entity Framework as an ORM. It uses SQL Server as backend. Some of the features, some of the key features are like user authentication, shopping cart, checkout, etc., right? So let's see the demo. I have a video which I'm gonna play. So on the screen, what you see is a Visual Studio IDE, and in this I have opened the source code of the application. So here you see the property of the application, which also over here you can see the target framework is 4.8, right? Now let me play this video. We can also have a look like how this application looks like, right? So You see, it's a web-based application. You have different options here, like you can explore the different products, you can explore the different categories available, you can choose the product, you can add it to the cart, etc., etc., etc. Right? So let me do a little fast forward, and we'll go directly to the queue transform. Right? Okay. So here is the queue transform. The very first thing what we do is we create a job, we create a transformation job. And on the right hand side, there's a very interactive video, interactive screen wherein you can specify your, customized need, that what exactly you want to do as part of the transformation. So here you see the job is getting created. And once the job is created, you can simply run the job. Apart from that, there are some additional settings that needs to be required, right? For example, you need to specify what is the source of your the code. Like you can specify the GitHub URL, etc. Plus couple of some more settings, those are required. So here you see the transformation is done, and let me give a pause here. So the best part is the Amazon Q transform will not hinder your existing repository, right? Rather, it will create a new repository and copy all the modified code and the files in the new repository, which you can go further explore that what all changes are done. And if you come back to Visual Studio and look at the property of the solution, you can see now the target framework is changed from 4.x to .NET 8.0, right? So with this, we have covered the transformation, the tool-based transformation, right? But after this, as I mentioned that, there are some manual changes that would be required to get the complete transformed application. Okay, let me go next. So over here, you can see some of the examples wherein the manual intervention will be required. For example, on the UI side, if your application is using the older web forms, those .aspx pages, so those need a manual conversion, right, to the MVC Razor pages. The code behind needs to be refactored manually. Another example is if in case you are using Crystal Report, that again needs a manual conversion to the different modern reporting tools whatever we have. On the code side, there could be some of the other example, like if some of the APIs, those are not supported, and Q transform could not do that the replacement of such APIs, that those needs to be handled manually. And another example is right, like authentication related changes, changing it to identity or JWT based authentication, etc. So these are some of the example of the manual changes that would be required on your application. And the level of it will again like depend upon the case to case basis, like how your application is developed, what all the different APIs, etc., has been used in your application, right? So if I have to conclude this the whole transformation, then what with whatever the modernization we have done so far, with that what we have observed is AWS Q transform reduces the 60%, approx 60% of the manual effort what we earlier used to put to do a manual modernization, right? And it is faster, of course. It lowers down the cost, and obviously it has very high performance, right? So I think I have concluded. So what's next, right? So in case if you have a plan to modernize your application, if you are a .NET if you have .NET application that you need to modernize, if you are using SQL Server which you want to migrate to Postgres, you can book up a free modernization assessment with us, and we will help you with the assessment and also the modernization part. I think that is all I had for today. Thanks for being with me so far. So I would like to open the floor for the questions. Please feel free to add your question to the chat box, and we will answer them. Thank you.
So I request people to put down their questions in the chat box, and we will try to address those questions.
All the delegates are requested, whatever feedback or any queries related to the company have, please feel free to put it in the chat box and we will be happy to assist you. Also, if in case you have related question regarding today's session, you can even go ahead with that same.
And in case if you do not have any questions right now, you can also reach out to us by email, and we'll certainly get back to you to address all your questions, clarifications, etc. Thank you.
We shall still wait, Ranjit, for some questions to come up because it was a crisp and a short webinar, and I'm sure people must appreciate this kind of crispy thing. So there is a question: how to estimate savings from this effort, Ranjit?
You want to take that?
All right. So the estimation of the saving is actually dependent on a lot of factors, like how much expenses you are doing. If let's say your expenses are uh, like $10,000 or $12,000, accordingly the savings will be calculated. And when I talk about percentage, it can range from up to 60 to 70%. And the other question was, after modernization using agentic AI, what is the typical reduction in TCO? So first of all, TCO, we see TCO as the uh, spread across 5 years of span. Once we get the inventory details, we do our homework, do our math, and give you the exact TCO for next 5 years, which is of course reduced. Now, what areas we should expect the savings? Infra, operations, usage, or high availability. So Ranjit, I request you to take this question.
Yeah, sure. So basically, with the modernization, what we gain at the max is the license cost, right? So that's the infra. See, because other parts are not like with respect to infra, others are the very less expected place or the area.
Like TCO is seen over the period of 5 years, and once inventory is being evaluated, then the actual reasonable reduction, percentage reduction can be shared with the companies. Now, the load for a company who has a $10,000 bill against a company who has a $50,000 bill would be different. The technology would be different, the applications would be different. So it is important because, as Ranjit has mentioned, the assessment and the evaluation is must before we even suggest that what could be the possible savings that could be there. And the best part with access.io is that access.io comes with a very consultative approach that this thing to be done first, then step 2 this, step 3 this. So with all these things put together, your overall TCO is reduced.
So we have
And
next question.
Ranjit, another question from Prasanjit Chakrabarti. How does Q Transform integrate with existing enterprise landscape? Ranjit, you are on mute.
Yeah, sure. So how does Q Transform integrates with existing enterprise landscape? So basically, Q Transform, talks to the source code, right? So as you have seen in the demo that, we need to specify, where exactly your enterprise application, source code is there. And it reads the data and do the, the complete assessment and the transformation.
And another question is, how does solution automatically discovers dependency across VMware workload, Ranjit?
Yeah, so for this VM workload, like we have a specific team who can take up this one. So we shall get back to you on this particular question.
Perfect. And another question I could see, what KPIs were used to measure the success of the migration? Ranjit sir?
You want to take it up?
Okay. All right. The KPIs are actually, mutually discussed. So first of all, a ND agreement is signed, and once the inventory comes, we share the BOM, which is a bill of material, wherein all the KPIs are mentioned basis the workload that you may have. And once those KPIs are agreed upon, then the action starts. And one other best part, which Ranjit, at times shy to mention, that in case your workload is heavy, so we may get you some funding from AWS so that you may not incur any cost or less cost towards the modernization journey. And I think this answers the other question also. How does pricing work based on the workload, consumption, or subscription? It actually based on the all three things: workloads, consumption, and subscriptions. And once we find that you have a substantial workload, then the pricing, you may not be paying anything to us. We will be billing directly to AWS. And if at all you have a moderate workload, then probably you will get partial funding from AWS and partial billing will be done to you. However, it'll still be the lesser of what you are spending right now. Then can Q Transform integrate with Azure native services for monitoring, governance, and cost optimization? So we are a pure play AWS partner, and we have a lot of technologies, lot of innovations and AI, Gen AI stuff on AWS. So when it comes to other players, a lot of things can be done. However, we support uh, in your AWS journey only. The other question is, how do we measure the ROI of modernization? It is simple maths. You are spending X amount of dollar in 5 years. Now you are spending X minus Y. So this is how you calculate the ROI. And the difference is substantially high. Then Mr. Anil Kumar has asked, does the platform generate automated compliance and audit documentations post migration? Well, there are
That
a lot of features. Yeah, Ranjit, you want to answer?
yeah, so the tool does not, a tool or the platform, doesn't, gives you a detailed report to that. But if it is required, that can be extracted manually.
Great. Then Mr. Siddesh has mentioned, what are the key security or compliance KPI that improve post modernization? So, Siddesh, this has been, I've tried to answer this in the earlier question also. Your question is embedded there as well, wherein once the inventory is shared, we share the bill of material and the KPIs that will be followed. Once we agree on, both the parties agree, then the actual work starts and we all agree on same compliance KPIs and the output that you expect post modernization. I'm so sorry. On the top of that, when you modernize, you not just put your applications to Linux and you break it into microservices. It also gives you freedom to scale further to any limit, because all the business are scaling. It is important to take that factor into consideration of scalability and security. Then Vipin has excuse me. Vipin has mentioned, do you offer migration assessment or POC for organization evaluating Q transform? Yes, we do. What skill set are required for internal teams to adopt AI-powered migration tools? So once, yeah, Ranjit, you want to say?
Yeah, so basically, your team doesn't needs to extend their skill set to understand how this AI powered migration tool works, because all of these will be taken care by us. So you can continue using your existing team. Maybe if you are when you move your application from framework to core, you would need to have people experience in .NET Core. So that will be all.
And on the top of that, we also do immersion day with the companies wherein we educate them that what has been done and how it can be used further. Then Vishal has asked that what is the roadmap for enhancing AI capabilities in future releases? Okay, when we talk about roadmap, it all starts with data. People talk about AI services, however, not many people know what exactly they want as an output from these AI capabilities. So before even jumping into the AI and all that stuff, we modernize your data, we create a data lake, we understand your AI expectations, and then yes, we have plenty of solutions to enhance your AI capabilities, and those capabilities are sustainable that can be used in your future releases as well. Then Mohan has mentioned, how do you ensure security and compliance during AI-driven workload transformation? That's a beautiful question. Even I can answer, but I want expert Ranjit to answer this.
Yeah, so most of the things will be taken care by the AI tool itself, but we have seen cases wherein our architects are the our engineers are required to do lots of manual changes with respect to the security. So in one of my slide also I have mentioned that with respect to the security enhancement, like when you have to implement the JWT token based authentication, etc. So those things are taken care of manually, right? So as I have earlier also mentioned, that the tool doesn't do 100% modernization or the migration, right, or the transformation. So there are a couple of areas that definitely needs manual intervention, so that we can get a complete transformed application.
And it is important as well. Why? Because I mean to say, no company leaves everything to AI. There has to be a manual intervention so that your system remains intact and secure always. So, any more questions that we can expect? So, believe we have answered all the questions. In case any question is not answered, please type it again, or anyways, we shall be getting in touch with you to take your feedback on this webinar. And of course, we will try to solve your uh, problems or your aspirations during our one-on-one conversations. Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks everyone, thanks for joining.
Yeah. So a very big thank you to Mr. Naveen and Ranjit for sharing highly relevant insights and real world modernization experience. Everyone, recording link and a feedback form will be emailed within 24 hours. For detailed discussion or modernization consultation, reply to the event email or our experts will connect with you. Also, we'll wait for next 2 minutes. If in case anybody has any queries or question, they can put forward. Other than that, we will be closing the same. Thank you once again for being a wonderful audience and an interactive audience. Stay innovative, stay connected, and wish you a great evening ahead. Thank you so much. Take care. Goodbye.